Okay, it says we are live.
Cool.
Let me check over here.
If you can hear me, hello. We're just testing these bits out because we're not entirely sure. Yep.
No one's on yet.
Cool.
Yeah, you can hear us.
Yeah.
Let me check over here.
Winner. If you are watching, we're just going to give it a minute or so to give everyone a chance to log on, and then we'll make a start shortly.
There we are.
Brilliant.
It's weird watching
cool.
yourself.
Yeah. So we can see we've got a few people who've joined up. So we're just going to give it a moment, and then we'll make a start. We've got Tim here. Tim's run Scilly60 once. He was our live commentator last year. He's running it again this year. But Tim's going to be making notes of all the questions that you guys have, so that we don't miss anything out. So it means that we answer everything that you guys have got any questions about. Cool. Right. Just give it just a moment more, and then we'll make a start. So
We've got 6 currently. There we go.
right. Superb. Okay, so I'm going to make a start, and all other Facebook Live videos have automatically recorded and stayed on the Facebook page for looking afterwards. So hopefully that's the case for this one. So welcome, and we've got 2.5 weeks until Scilly60 starts.
Tapering has begun.
That's it. It's time to eat cake. So a couple of little different bits. So from my point of view, there's been a couple of course changes. St Mary's is now just under 17 kilometres. That's the main bit. So it means that, and also different from last year and the year before, St Mary's is the first island for the Scilly60. So you're going to have 2 hours and 8 minutes. So not 2 hours and 15 like previous years, because it's 1 kilometre shorter. So 2 hours and 8 minutes for St Mary's. I'm going to be sending out the information pack again after this with all the updated versions of it anyway. St Martin's is still 10k, so that's 75 minutes for the 60 and 85 minutes for the 60%. Tresco is slightly more this year, because after finishing our loop, we're going to cut back over the top of the island. So when we land, we're going to land at Old Grimsby, and then when we finish, we're going to finish at New Grimsby. So this is the only island where we'll leave our bags and our coats on the boat, and then that way, after we've started the race, the boat will then drive around the island and meet us at the other quay with all your kit on it. We will remind everybody on the day, but that's the one change there, which means it's gone from just over 10 to just under 11. So the timings for that are 83 minutes for the Scilly60 and 94 minutes for the 60%. Briar stays the same at just under 8 kilometres, so it's 1 hour exactly for the 60 and 68 minutes for the 60%. St Agnes is staying the same at 9k, so 68 minutes for the 60 and 77 minutes for the 60%. And then both runs head back to St Mary's for a final 5k. There is no cut-off for this final 5k. However, if both groups can aim to finish in around an hour, it just means that we can start moving on with presentations and eating food and drinking beer and celebrating everyone's amazing days, hopefully. So yes. So that's the layout of the day. So a few people have emailed me already with a few questions, so I'm just going to run through those. If there are any other questions that you've got, please just post it or put a message on the live feed. Tim's going to jot them all down, and so that he can ask them to me later, so that we can make sure we've answered all of the questions that you guys have got for us. So one of the questions for those doing Scilly60, are there toilets on St Mary's? Because over 2 hours is a long time running without potentially having a wee. So there's toilets at Porth Cressa, which is roughly 3 kilometres in. There's toilets at Old Town, which is roughly 5 kilometres in. And then there's toilets back in the main town, which is roughly 16 kilometres in. We will put little signs showing people where the toilets are. And I will, I'll just make a note. I'll try and add it onto the plotter route links that are on the information pack. So if you go onto that website, it will have a little star where the toilets are. Superb. Somebody else asked about travel disruption. You know, what happens if there's travel disruption? So last year we had high winds. We had various travel disruptions. Lots of people had to make adjustments to their travel plans just before leaving. So, you know, if you can, please be adaptable. Keep an eye on the weather. The steamship company normally let you know a day, sometimes 2 days beforehand, if they believe there's going to be any travel disruptions. So please keep an eye out for that message. Hopefully we won't have any problems. But if it's looking like potentially being foggy or really high winds and high waters, then yeah, contact the A Scilly steamship if you're going by them, or the Penzance helicopters, as soon as possible to make alternative arrangements. Like I say, fingers crossed we won't have any of that. Unfortunately, living on an island, there's nothing we can do about it. It's part of it. So like I say, if you can be flexible, then that will help out. Should you decide to not start an island, so say you've finished Tresco and you're just about to start Briar, but you don't fancy it, you're like, you know what, I've had a lovely day, but that's me. Once we've set everybody off, please tell the timers that you have not started the island, and then that way we know that there's not an extra person left on the course when actually you're sat next to us cheering everybody in. So please tell the timers if you've decided not to start, but if you can, just let everybody start the race, because that's the frantic part for us, is getting everybody off the boat, getting everything all set up ready to get you guys going. So we'll get everyone going, and then every island we've got at least, well, depending on how quick everyone is, normally at least a half hour, if not longer, but every year it gets quicker. But there will be time for people to tell us if they've decided not to start, whichever stage it is. Somebody else has asked, is the course marked? Yes, the course is marked. I should have bought them. There's orange flags that will be around, marking everywhere, and also some tape, some biodegradable tape. Please keep an eye out for it. I mark it as best as I can, but I don't want to hold your hand. So there's not going to be a flag every 20 metres, especially if it's a single track path. I'll put 5, 6, maybe more on a confusing junction where there may be 3 or 4 different angles to go to. But when you're heading along a path, if there's no turn-offs, then there's going to be one every now and again, just to confirm that you're on the same track. and the flags will be mainly around the areas where you need to concentrate. So keep an eye out for those. They are bright orange, so they are quite easy to see. Somebody else asked, it's June, will it be chilly on the boats? The weather we've had recently has been pretty good. However, last year on the 60%, we had strong winds and hail. So my advice is to bring clothing that you can be warm in, and if the forecast looks amazing, then leave it at wherever you're staying. But if the forecast is looking slightly windy or not too good, then definitely bring it.
So when you're sweaty, you need that windproof layer, don't you? Because even on a calm day, it's just really chilly out in the water.
Yeah, that's it. And especially some of the boat journeys for the likes of, say, Briar over to Agnes. You know, you've been going for at least 30, if not 40 or 50 kilometres. So you're tired. So your body's already, you know, tired. And then you've got a 45-minute journey across the water. So yeah, having a warm jacket to put on is definitely worthwhile. People have asked me before, like, do I have to bring a dry robe? No, you do not have to bring a dry robe at all. If you've got a dry robe, yeah, I'd potentially, especially if you're coming by boat and weight and size of bags isn't an issue, I'd probably put it in because it's nice and cozy should the weather be not so kind, and you can kind of tuck yourself right into it. Would I go out of my way to buy a dry robe just for the event? No. I would potentially buy one of those £1 or very cheap little waterproof plastic ponchos, so that should the weather be unkind, again, I can just chuck it over me and keep myself dry, ready for starting the next stage. That's a good question. Can we rely on the co-op for bananas and food? So I've messaged the co-op today, and they have confirmed that they're going to put extra bananas, oranges, watermelons on their order. However, I would recommend bringing everything that you need. Now, obviously, if you're arriving a week early, you're not going to want to bring bananas with you. They're not going to be ready for you in a week's time. But if you're turning up the day before the race, bring everything you need. Especially if you've got, you know, a difference, you like eating something that's not an everyday food at a basic co-op. So please bring everything you need for the day with you as much as possible. We really love supporting local here. We want to do that as much as possible. But for the likes of, you know, a lot of you have spent a year training for this event, I'd hate for you to be like, oh, it's okay, I'm going to buy all my food on St Mary's, and then it's not there, and then that affects your performance on the day, and that'd be a real shame. So for the likes of food, I'd recommend bringing it with you. The only mandatory equipment is please bring water. If you could bring 3 litres of water with you, so that you've got, you know, you don't have to carry it with you on the race, but it just means that it gets us ahead of the game for filling up everybody's water bottles. So when you start a race, start at one of the stages, if your water bottle is empty, if you leave it by one of the flags, once you're running, we'll go and fill it all up for you, so that when you come back, you've got a full water bottle. But if everybody's got 2 or 3 or 4 litres, then it means that those first couple of stages, especially the likes of St Martin's, where we actually have to go up to someone's house to fill it all up, it's much nicer if we know that everybody's got enough to get through those stages, and then we'll start filling up from various locations. Those of you staying off island, I'm working things out at the moment. I've got a variety of different options for getting people to and from the islands. I will message you directly. There was a form that came out a couple of weeks ago asking what island you're staying on. if you had already put in your registration form that you was planning on staying on one of the off islands, or you didn't know what island you were staying on. So yeah, keep an eye out. I will be contacting people. If you're staying off island and you haven't heard of that form or you don't know about it, please send me a message so I can make sure you know about it. Or you may, if you're staying on Tresco or Briar, Tresco boats are already aware of the event. Sorry about that alarm. They're already aware of the event, and they've already taken some bookings for people moving backwards and forwards. So that's they are aware, but I will be trying to help get everyone sorted for those bits. Someone else has messaged about hoodies. Do you need to pre-order them? That email came out 2 weeks ago, something like that. Yes, they were pre-order. So they're being hand screen printed on the islands by Maisie, whose workshop is directly opposite the Gig Shed Cafe. So if you haven't pre-ordered, then on the day you'll be able to order and we'll send them out for you. We won't have loads and loads of stock waiting because we really don't like waste. So we'll be taking orders and sending them out for you. Maisie's currently today and over the next couple of days screen printing all of the new Scilly60 t-shirts and everything else like that, all ready for everyone coming across. So keep an eye on Facebook for little videos and bits and pieces coming up. It's all very exciting and it's really, really lovely to have a local company designing and printed them literally under 100 meters from the start line. Bloody brilliant. So really, really happy about that. So they're the questions that we've had up front. Tim, what questions have you got?
Just a couple. Someone was asking about the St Martin's times. It was 75 minutes for the Scilly60, wasn't it? 85 minutes for the 60%. Ben's asked what are the crossing timings between each island on the boat.
Okay, yep, that's a fair one. So roughly, St Mary's to St Martin's is roughly 30 minutes. St Martin's to Tresco is roughly 20-25 minutes. Tresco to Briar is about 10 minutes. Briar to St Agnes is about 40 minutes. And St Agnes to back to St Mary's is about 15 minutes. However, once I blow the horn, it will take, we want everyone to be getting on the boats as fast as possible, but that will take even 5 minutes if we're super quick, probably nearer 10. And again, when we're getting off the boats, we want people to be super efficient and ready to run, but that still will take 5-10 minutes. One thing I didn't mention that I've just remembered, when you finish each stage, please go to the loo. If everyone's going to the toilet at a staggered rate, we've got enough toilets for everybody. If everybody waits until you start the race, we found last year with the first couple of islands of the 60% that we had a massive backlog and it made everyone, we had to wait for a good amount of time for everyone to finish. So please go to the toilet when you finish a stage rather than waiting for the start of a stage. And that just makes everything much more efficient and quick. Okay, Tim.
Ben also asks, are there any water refill places at any point along the islands, or are you providing all the water top-ups?
So sounds awful. I'm not providing any support for you from the minute I blow the hooter to the minute you come back across the finish line. So you need to have enough to look after yourself for the entire stage. Like we said earlier with the water, okay, at each start and finish line, if you've got a 2 litre water bottle that needs topping up or is empty, if you leave it by the flag at the start line, Then as soon as you guys go, we go and fill them all up, and then we'll lay them all back out ready for you for when you come back. So please put your name and your race number on your water bottle, because then you're likely to get it back. Okay, if everybody's just got an empty Lucozade bottle, it's very, very tricky for everybody. So please, put something on it to make it more noticeable.
Community members on a couple of islands do come out and do little impromptu water stations on the course, but you can't rely on those being there. They may be there, they may not be. So the best thing to do is take what you need with you, leave the bottle at the start line, and we'll get it all refilled, ready for when you get back. Are there loos at every single key?
Yeah. So this year, every key that we go to, there'll be loos at the start and finish line. So yeah, you will be able to finish and then go straight to the toilet, which is really handy. Last year it didn't work out for Briar, so it was a little bit more of a trek. But this year, fingers crossed, I've got the tides right, but we should be fine for toilets on all of the other islands. Most of the islands, the only public loos are actually at the quay where we're starting and finishing. So yeah, like I say, when you finish, please nip to the loo. We do have a no phones rule for the toilets, so please don't sit there and send your mates loads of messages saying I'm having a lovely time, check out my Strava, when there's 30 people waiting. Okay, so do all that when you're on the boat.
Brendan's asked, for the final leg of the Scilly60% on St Mary's, are kit bags taken to the finish point for you?
Yeah, so that's both for the 60 and the 60%. We've got a haulage company, Island Carriers, that are meeting us down the quay. You'll load your bags onto the truck, and then they will take it to the finish line. And then once you've finished, you can go and grab your bag and your coat or whatever else you've left there, and then carry on for the rest of the evening. If you want to leave anything overnight, so at registration, if you want to bring a small bag with a change of clothes or anything for the evening event or for the evening celebrations and stuff like that, you can leave them in the gig sheds. Again, it's all at owner's risk. However, I'm going to be leaving all my stuff there. So it's the joys of a little island. But it just means that if you want to have a change of clothes for when you've finished, there is no real finish time for the event. We'll have a celebration and give out trophies and stuff, probably about 45 minutes after everyone's finished. But if you want to stay cross the finish line and stay for 10 minutes, that's great. If you want to stay till midnight, that's also great. This is your event. We want to celebrate with you and make sure you get the best out of everything.
Katie is asking, I don't know if it means that she's staying on an off island or not.
Yeah.
She's asked, what's the situation on Saturday evening? Do we need to get sorted getting to and from the island?
Yeah, so if you're staying, I'm pretty sure Katie's staying on Tresco. So registration, if you're staying off island, and in fact I haven't documented this anywhere, so I apologise about that. If you're staying off island, beg pardon, if you're landed on St Mary's and you know the time and the day that you're arriving, if I can, or message me, and I will try and leave all of your kit ready. However, almost definitely the easiest thing would be to on the start of the race, just come up to, well, it probably won't be me, it'll probably be one of my team members, and they'll be able to register you straight away at the start of the race. But yeah, if you are planning on, sorry, you can tell I'm thinking. Thinking and speaking, it's a tricky thing. Especially if there's a group of you and you know that you're coming to St Mary's at a certain point, then let us know and we can speed things up by giving you your bib numbers and bits and pieces earlier on. So yeah, if you know that you're going to be on St Mary's at any point before the race and you're staying off island, send me an email, let me know, and then I'll be able to let you know what the best thing will be to do. From now on, things get really busy for me. So if you've got any questions, please email them to me, because if you send them via social media, I don't always see them, and sometimes they disappear, and I don't find it as easy. Whereas an email is much easier to keep on top of. So yeah, if you've got a question or you're staying off island, you want to let me know that you're coming in at 10:45 on Thursday, then yeah, send that by email, please, and that's the best way for contacting me.
Are you allowed to wear headphones when you're running?
Yep, headphones is fine. Personally, especially as time goes on, one of the great things about Scilly60 is the fact that because you run, you'll do your first stage, but then you get on a boat together and you start having those chats, and then you'll run the next stage and you get back on the boat together. Very quickly you find that you're surrounded by friends. So a lot of people have found that although they've taken headphones, they've left them in the bag quite quickly because they found that they've been chatting half the way around, which is absolutely lovely. But yes, they are allowed. I've got no problem with it, but I would just say make the most of this opportunity to see and hear everything. Hearing the waves crashing, all the birds and stuff, it is really nice. But obviously, if you've got 15 minutes until the hooter goes, and and you need to be really focused, then that's where putting the Rocky theme in can really 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 get you through that last little bit.
Yeah. Ben's just trying to check the St Mary's distance, so it is just under 17k. Call it 17k.
Yeah. So
and 2 hours 8 minutes.
2 hours 8 minutes. Yeah. So if you look at the links from the information packs, and like I say, I'll be sending out the information pack again with the updated versions. Most of the islands are slightly under what we said, so I've rounded up. So I think it's 16.6, 16.7 for St Mary's. So I've rounded it up to 17 kilometres, which gives 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Oh, you are generous, aren't you?
I'm such a nice guy. Unlike the article that called me an ogre. So, so I have been the nicer side of the rounding. But yeah, if you've got a watch that does kilometres, you want to be looking at that 7 minutes 30 is your average pace, is the data field that you want to have on it. Or if you're doing the 60%, then it's 8 minutes 30 per kilometre, so your average pace. If you're in miles, it's not quite, but it's around 12-minute miles for the 60 and around 13 minutes 20 for the 60%. However, that's not exact. Everything I've done is to kilometres, so I know most people are miles still, but I prefer kilometres because there's more of them and it makes me feel like I've gone further. So they're the average paces.
And it's good to be under those time cut-offs, as in not just because you missed the boat, but everyone's Garmin's, when we've done all our training together, everyone's Garmin's vary by a few seconds. So yeah, try and push yourself to
aim for 7:25, 7:20, something like that, or the same for the 8:20, 8:25. Give yourself that little bit of leeway if you can. But as we've found from the previous 2 years, apparently it's pretty tough. And getting to 7:20 on your third island isn't actually an easy thing to do by choice. You're giving it your everything. Yeah. So, but just be aware that everything's based around 7:30 or 8:30 per kilometre. Mm-hmm. This year, well, every year we've got a race medic that will be there at the finish line. So if you've got any problems, anything needs looking at. But this year we've also got a physio. So if you've got a niggle in your knee or your calf, you're like, I want to keep going, it's not that bad, but you want a bit of taping, then we'll point out who Nicola is, and she'll tape you up to get you back on your feet. So hopefully you can finish the race and get the best out of it. So yeah, really excited about that new addition as well.
Jane Hegg says, great to see you again, Wes.
Hey, Jane.
Many asks, is the gig shed a good place for a carby veggie dinner on a Saturday?
The gig shed is just bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
They only do veggie food. So all of our finishers meals will be veggie, which means if you're a veggie or a vegan, there's no thinking involved. It's all friendly for everyone. I've got everybody's dietary needs from when you registered, so they know that if there's anyone with celiac or any other additional needs or things that we need to avoid, so they'll all be prepared for you.
Will they be open on Saturday, do you know?
Saturday, I don't know, to be fair. Good question.
Hours.
So they normally are, but because it's such a big weekend, they may not be open for full menu. I've got a feeling they might be open for part menu.
Send them a message on Facebook and like near the time.
Yeah.
And,
Or if you're over there slightly earlier, just nip in.
Yeah.
So the registrations are they're at the gig sheds as opposed to the gig shed cafe this year. But just nip into the gig shed cafe. If it looks like there's a long queue, if you want some last minute carb loading, then you can grab yourself a pint, or whatever, or go and have a word with them and find out, what food they have got, and they'll sort you all out. They're super friendly. They do all the races, so they know what it's all about. So it's absolutely brilliant.
The tide times are okay for Bar and Agnes, aren't they? Because we're running it.
Yeah.
Otherwise it'd be 5k. So yeah, you've made it longer for us. And,
yeah, that's it. So yeah, everything is all should be, unless something's changed drastically. But no, we will be going across the bar and then around Kew as well. The tides are good for the 60k to go around Tolls Island. However, we've got some plovers that are nesting on Tolls Island. So that means we've cut the whole island so that we don't disturb them, which is why, one of the big reasons why it's gone from 18 kilometres down to 17. So we've cut that bit. It's a shame. Tolls Island is one of my favourites. However, a few of the local runners have said to me, I'm so pleased that Tolls is cut. There's a tricky, rocky traverse onto the island
after you're crossing the beach to get there.
After you've crossed the beach to get there. So it's it is quite a harder bit that we've cut out. So it is quite nice when you run into a time limit to have that little bit cut.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice.
Are poles recommended?
Most people have said no, that they don't think poles recommended. A lot of the paths are less than shoulder width apart. So, you're running on a tightrope as opposed to shoulder width. If you are going to use poles, and they're totally allowed, I would say wait until the field is spread out a little bit and just be very aware that you're going to be running along, but then also lifting them up for 2 minutes or whatever, and then putting them back down. I've done a 100k on St Mary's a couple of years ago, and for the last 30k I used poles. It was my first time using poles. I wanted to see what it was like, and it did help me. So I'm not going to say it's not a good thing, but I would say it wasn't easy, and there was a lot of times where it was carrying the poles as opposed to placing the poles. So
I wouldn't say many locals use poles when we've been out training, but
no,
it's all personal preference.
That's it. Last year, I think there was maybe 3 runners in total that used poles. So out of 150 for the 60 and 75 for the 60%. So 200 plus runners, only 3 chose to use poles. So it's just there's no harm having them in your pack. Whether it be your actual race pack or on the boat. If you get the opportunity to be here a day early, have a little walk around whichever island you're staying on or wherever you fancy going, and have a little think of, would I be comfortable using these poles? Because obviously they're great, but if you find that you end up tripping on them, then they're not so great. So it's definitely a balance, but it's up to you. This is your race ultimately. So as long as you're mindful of all other runners, that's all fine by me.
Ben says, are you aware the camera angle makes you look like you have tree trunk legs?
I've been working out.
Well, we adjusted the camera angle to avoid that, so they must have looked like redwoods or something before. They are quite tree trunky, So that's what happens when you run the Scilly60 just to mark up the course beforehand.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, amazing.
T-shirts look great. And these are the first year, weren't they?
Yeah, this is first year. That's last year's one.
Yeah.
So this year's are slightly different because the weekend is the summer solstice weekend. It's a slightly different design. We've got an amazing sun background to celebrate the summer solstice. That again has been the logo's been adapted by Maisie. Each of the screens have got two colours. They fade from one to another, and because it's all done by hand, it means that every single t-shirt or hoodie, if you've pre-ordered, is slightly different, which is really cool to be like, we're wearing the same t-shirt but totally different because mine's got a slightly more orange or a slightly more yellow or whatever the colours are. So that's really, really exciting. But yeah, so I'm really excited to see the new t-shirts. I know that Maisie's been working on them today, so like I say, I think there'll be a video up very soon about the new t-shirts.
Ben, slightly confusing me. Best place to eat on Tresco the night before, but it has to be close to the Garrison campsite, which is on St Mary's. So
yeah, okay. So they are two different islands. So
I don't know if you mean you're on Tresco and then you're coming back to St Mary's, but you need to eat on Tresco.
Yeah.
But,
so
good place on Tresco.
Everywhere's good on Tresco.
Ruin.
Yeah, both Ruin and New Inn, very similar sounding. Both really good food. You may find that you need to book for the Ruin.
Yeah, to sit inside you will. They let you sit outside, but
yeah.
If it's bad weather, you won't want to do that.
That's it. If it's St Mary's in the evening, so the gig shed won't be open in the evening. Dibble and Grub is amazing, but you've got to book about 3 years in advance to get an evening seat. So if you can get a seat, bloody brilliant, well done. Apart from that, I'd say it's mainly just pub grub, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the Atlantic, Mermaid. Don't know if Tanglewood will be open that night.
Yeah, maybe. And then there's also the likes of we've got 2 or 3 chippies. Yeah, fish and chip vans.
The Galley fish and chip place do pizzas, really good pizzas as well.
Yeah.
But all this is on visit
Isles of Scilly website. Yeah, so it's one of those things. As a local, I don't actually eat out very much. So yeah, especially if you're staying at the campsite, there's a really, really good hub of people that are doing Scilly60 that are all staying on the campsite. And I've heard for the last 2 years that it's been so nice to have so many people camping together. So they'll be the ones to ask, because there'll definitely be some returners that will say, I had a great meal last year at this place. So yeah, that's really, really good place.
If you want something specific, I'd book ahead of time, but for takeaways and stuff, you can just walk around and see what takes your fancy on the night.
Yeah, definitely.
John he's just done some sprinting practice on the way to catch a train. He says, will there be a final update to the timings and distances provided in the race pack, or is it all nailed on?
So I've just finished updating it all yesterday, and I'll be sending those out via email later on, and updating the website and putting a link to on the Facebook page. So hopefully everybody should receive it one way or another. The plotter route links that are on the information pack are still the same links. So if you'd had the original one where it shows an 18k St Mary's, if you click on that link, it will show you the updated route with the updated elevations. So be aware that it's not flat. We are tiny islands, but when I did Walk Scilly a few months ago, we walked all of the islands to the Scilly60 route. I was 2 meters shy of the height of sea level to the top of Snowdon. So please don't think, oh, it's just 5 little flat islands. And a lot of the running is quite technical running, so there's a lot of thinking involved. But we're 2 weeks away now. You're the bulk of your training is done. Come across and enjoy it. Make sure, if you haven't already, have a try at eating a sandwich and going for a run, or whatever food that you actually like, because although it's either a marathon or 60k, and some of you can do a marathon in say 4 hours, and you're like, oh, I don't need to eat over a marathon. The fact that you're going to be leaving your apartment probably 7:30 in the morning and not getting your finisher's meal till 6-7 o'clock in the evening, that's a long time with no food. So you will be eating and then going for a run. So make sure you have at least tried some form of eating and running to make sure you know what works for you.
When next year's entries open, how quickly do they sell out roughly?
Oh, that's a good question.
Silly 60% specifically. For
Yeah,
this
so this year blew my mind. So I thought it would be a few days because word of mouth had got out there. I released the tickets for Scilly60 and Scilly60% at the same time. 11 minutes later, Scilly60 had sold out, and 2 days later, the 60% had sold out. I had no idea it was going to be that kind of event. This year, I'm going to change that because I don't want people, say you work in A&E and I do the release the tickets at 7 o'clock in the evening, which in theory works for a lot of people. And then you've got to think, do I have to miss my whole shift just so that I can log on? I don't think that's very fair. So this year we will have a 24-hour registration period where everybody who wants to register puts their name down, and then it'll be names out of a hat for that event. I will probably stagger it. So if you haven't listened to the Trail and Error podcast, you may not be aware that there's a third event next year. So next year there's the Scilly60% on Friday. We don't know what Friday yet. Scilly60 on the Sunday, and then on the Tuesday there's going to be a Scilly110. So that will be by invite only. So if you have completed Scilly60 and you think, oh my word, Wes didn't quite break me, I want something else, then there's the 110, which would be you'd run the island, high five me, and then run back the other way, still at the same 7 minutes 30 per kilometre cut-offs. It's going to be a very, very long day out with a 5 o'clock start and about 11 o'clock in the evening finish. But every time you do an event, as soon as you finish, someone says, what's next? So this is it. So the aim would be, I don't know which order I'm going to do, but it'll be one event will be register on one day, and then I'll release, I'll let people know who's got through the raffle the next day. So for example, the 60% may be coming out on the Monday, with the successful emails going out on the Tuesday, and then the Wednesday would be the 60 with the successful emails on the Thursday, and then the Friday would be the 110 with the successful emails on the Saturday. So it will be slightly staggered, so people have a little bit more chance to know what's going on, and it also stops my computer going crazy, and it's less like I'm less likely to make a human error which, you know, in the technology world is nearly always my fault rather than the technology's fault where things go wrong. So if I can have a slightly less cluttered week, it means I can concentrate on everybody who's trying to get in that day. And then also by it being open for 24 hours, it also means that, you know, should the website not work for any reason, we've got time to sort that out during that time, rather than the fact that someone be like, oh, I tried to log on, but, you know, it didn't work and now I've missed a ticket. So yeah, I'm very grateful that there's so many people that want to take part. And 11 minutes is just ridiculous. But I don't.
People had their alarm set, they said, this year.
Yeah. But I don't want to put people through that stress again. You know, the stress is the hooter on the day. I don't want the stress for the actual just signing up for it. That's not fair. So,
not race related, but interested in the film that was being advertised. Linda asks, can you book tickets for the film?
Good question.
Which is
yes.
the Trails in Motion.
Yeah, really excited about that. So Jay from Ginger Goat Events, he's coming over to take part in the 60. He's also the podcast host from Trail and Error. But he, you know, I was speaking to him saying, you know, look, there's going to be loads of runners on the island, and I really want to see the film tour, and I know a lot of locals would love to see it. What about putting it on? So that's going to be on the Monday. I don't actually know the actual answer for that. I think it is book online. I will find a link and send the link through on the when I email the updates for the race pack. I'll put the link to book in the film night.
If it's at Old Town Inn, they've usually done like online ticketing before.
Yeah, so I do know that Trails in Motion normally do it in advance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will be able to confirm that with you and get that through to you. It may be a day or two, but I'll try and get that all sorted for everyone. But I'm pretty sure it is book in advance, and then if there's any tickets left, then it'll be coming through the door. I think it's roughly going to be a 5 o'clock start, finishing roughly 7 o'clock-ish. Beg your pardon, sorry. And then if you stay on at the pub, they do easy food, so very beige food, specifically for this because there's going to be quite a few people around, so plenty of chips and bits and pieces. But then they've got a quiz night staying on, so if you want to stay for the quiz night, even better. Do a little bit of backtracking from that. On the Saturday, there's a social event down at the Gig Shed Cafe, roughly 2 till 4. However, last year, I think a lot of people got there from 11, 12-ish and stayed throughout the evening or until 4-ish. It's a great way, if you've done the 60% the day before, it's a great way to unwind and spend time with your fellow runners. If you're doing the 60 on the Sunday, it's a great place to come and ask those questions. Be like, oh, you know, I hear you used poles. Like, what was it like? Or, you know, what advice would you give me for the race? So you can have some real, you know, first-hand experience that's from people. So it's a really great way to find those informations out and just be around loads of lovely runners. And then again on the Monday, back down the Gig Sheds, we'll be doing a swim. I can't remember what time I said. I think about midday for a swim at Porthmelon, so just off the beach at the Gig Sheds. So celebrating one of the runners' birthdays, and then again social event most of the day through to about 4-ish, or until everyone gets on the Slonian back at the Gig Sheds. When everyone goes to the Slonian, the rest of us walk across the island down to Old Town Cafe, where we'll sit and watch the films. And if you've had a few beers, hopefully not fall asleep through the films. But yeah, it's going to be a hell of a weekend with so much going on. I'm just really excited and can't wait to welcome you all to these islands.
Casey asked, do our coats need to fit inside our dry bags, or are they in addition?
Yeah, so they are in addition, because putting a dry robe in a 40-litre bag is a 40-litre bag. So this year, race numbers, you'll get 2 numbers. So you'll get a number for you to wear on yourself. Please wear it on the front. If you wear it on your leg, can you wear it on your left leg? Again, we'll go through this at registration, but it's not essential, or anywhere on your side. Please don't wear it on your back, because as we come through, we want to know what number you are. But there will be a spare number that you can put on your bag. I'm not going to do 3 numbers in case you've got a coat, a bag and everything else, but you will get a second number for your whichever you choose, your bag or your coat, or if it's like a puffer type jacket that squeezes down in your bag, then brilliant. If you have got a dry robe, lots of people have got lovely big black dry robes or other makes or whatever. Put something on it that makes it yours, you know, bright pink KT tape down the sleeve that says "Where's Runner 131," or, you know, "Feeling Silly," or whatever in bright blue tape, or whatever it is, but make yours stand out, because the last thing you want is to finish and then spend 5 minutes all hunched over going through everybody's coats trying to find your own ones. We will try and separate bags so that one boat's on one side, one boat's on the other. This year we've got race buffs for both events, so you'll either have one coloured race buff if you're on one boat, or a different for the other. You don't have to wear them, it's just a nice bit of fun. So yeah, and there will be I'm saying it will be if it arrives in time. If it arrives in time, there will be a prize for the boat with the most finishers. So, you know, please look out for each other. That doesn't mean trip up the opposition boat, but please look out for each other, you know, give each other the encouragement, because it's only a little tiny thing, but it's just a nice little thing. That, yeah, runners can have. It just adds another little level of competition, so it's worth carrying on even if you feel tired.
That's it for questions, I
That's
think.
it.
Yeah. Unless anyone else has any more, put them in the chat quickly.
Yeah, we'll give it a moment. Chuck it in the chat if you've got any other questions. If you're on a waiting list, or you know, you wasn't able to get in this year, and you still really want your fix of the Isles of Scilly in a running event, there's still loads of places for the swim run. It's an amazing swim run. I'm really, really excited about the swim run. It's brilliant. But also new to this year is the Beast of Briar. Really excited for this. 24 hours. How many loops of Briar can you or your team do? A team is anything between 2 and 6 people. You don't have to go in a set order, so you could have one person that says I just want to do 1 loop, someone else that says I'll do 3 at a time. It makes no difference. It's a choose your own adventure, so you can be like, you know what, I'm going to run for 4 hours, I'm going to have a sleep, and then I'll do another 4 hours. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be a really good day out. While you're over here, if that takes your fancy, you know, and you don't want to do it solo, you're going to be surrounded by loads of other runners. You know, put a team together. It's a great reason to come across. All your camping's included in the price, so it means that you've just got one fee of the boat to come over, and then the race fee, and then you can camp from Thursday to Monday and have a great time on Briar. It's going to be blooming brilliant. So yeah, if you're looking for another adventure on Scilly, that's going to be a good bit of fun. So
just lots of thank yous coming in, which you'll read, I'm sure, after.
Cool.
Yeah.
Superb. Like I said before, any questions, the best way is by email. I will be checking the live video bit for questions afterwards. So yeah, if you do put any questions in there, I will check that over the next 24 hours or so and add in any final written answers next to it. But yeah, thanks for spending your time with me.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you in 2.5 weeks.
Is that it?
Crazy. It's not long. It is not long, but I can't wait. It's going to be brilliant.
And you've ordered the right forecast, so
it seems that way. It's looking good at the moment, but we'll see. It's a long way away. But thanks everyone. See you in a couple of weeks.
cheers.